Kill every light for 10 seconds and your yard will admit what it does between 2 and 4 in the morning. The air is thin and cold enough to ring, the grass carries a skin of dew, and the whole place holds itself like a breath. At 2:13 a.m., a jay snaps the dark with a hard scold. A robin answers from the hedge with a sharper tack, and an owl, barred or great-horned. You only catch the shape, ghosts along the fence line as if the yard belongs to it. A chickadee is locked to a cedar twig with its foot tendon like a winch, head tucked so the feathered cloak overlaps like shingles. A cardinal has slipped to the leeward side of the spruce and vanished into a pocket where the wind spends itself on needles instead of bone. In the nectar corner, a ruby-throated hummingbird has turned into a cold bead on a twig, body temperature and heart rate fallen into the controlled dive we call torpor, so dawn can be bought with what little sugar remains. On the soil under the hedge, raccoon prints stitch the damp like a signature, thin as a pencil line. A fox ghosts through as quiet as fog, reading the night with its nose the way you read your kitchen with light. And then, so faint you'll think you invented it, a single seep crosses the sky above your roof. The traveling note of a thrush you will not see, part of a river of birds sliding on stable air long after midnight. Not sleep, not silence. A night shift you have never watched deciding who sings tomorrow. Welcome back. Tonight, I'm taking you through your own yard in the hours you never watch. Because once you know what happens between 2 and 4, you'll hear your mornings differently and you'll know exactly which small changes keep more voices alive. We'll step through deep roosts and one-eye vigilance, the way an owl can make an entire yard freeze, the mammal patrol that writes small stories in mud and dew, the hummer that turns to glass and then warms itself back to life, and the quiet highway of migrants passing over your roof. I'll give you a 90-second listening test you can try tonight on any clear, calm hour after a cold front, and show you why unshielded lights and unmarked glass make the 10 minutes before dawn the riskiest of the day. If you stay with me, you won't just hear it. You'll become the calm landmark the night map uses to get through. Start with the reason you rarely witness any of this. Birds trade daylight bravado for night math. In sun, they cross the lawn, sing from high posts, answer neighbors. In darkness, they push low and tight where heat is held and sight lines are short. Edges, not lawns, carry the story. The base of the thickest hedge, the lee side of a spruce, the empty braid of vines against a fence, the dull cave beneath the lowest deck step. These are the rooms of the night. Watch your own yard for a week and you will see proof in small clues you used to ignore. At first light, find the pinhead droppings clustered beneath one particular branch. That is a favored roost. Look at your biggest window for a powdery feather smudge. That is a shoulder tracing a mistake you can fix today. Step gently under the evergreen and see where dew breaks in a loose ring. That is where bodies huddled to share a warm air shell. The roost itself carries more intelligence than we usually give it. Cornell lab field notes and decades of naturalists' journals point to the same pattern. Robins, cardinals, chickadees, titmice, wrens, and doves choose low, dense, wind-sheltered pockets because still air saves calories and short sight lines hide vulnerability. A chickadee will sometimes slide in with 2 or 3 companions and vanish into cedar, the group stacking heat the way hands trap breath in winter. Doves puff and align along a trunk so the bark breaks the wind and the body becomes a warmer sphere. Many birds do not sleep the way we do. They dip into sleep and surface through what researchers call microarousals, tiny wakeful checks to scan for danger, then settle again. Individuals on the edge of a group show more vigilance, and some species can bias attention to the outer eye facing risk. If you stand at dusk and watch a dependable shrub for 5 minutes, you'll see this program begin. A head tucks, then untucks for a blink toward the open, then tucks again. By full dark, the birds are invisible, but the system is awake. Stillness breaks when hunters move. Owls quarter the fence line and the lawn the way a tide searches a bay, listening for mouse, vole, soft rustle. If you have jays within earshot or a robin roosting in the hedge, you may hear a sudden, sharp scold at 2 or 3 in the morning. The sound is not large, but the effect is. The yard draws tight like a pulled sheet, every small bird pinning itself to cover. That yard-wide freeze, the one you've noticed by day when a blue jay screams hawk, has a night version too, and it carries the same authority. Audubon essays and Cornell's mixed species work describe how information moves across species lines at speed. An early warning web that does not need your presence to work. If you ever wake for a glass of water and hear a jay's angry cough at an hour you don't expect, you're not imagining it. Something moved where the map says it should not, and the web threw a breaker. Pressure on the ground can be just as meaningful. Raccoons test decks and bird baths. They know which yards hold water and which hold food. Foxes cut along habitual routes like commuters. Free-roaming cats, which USGS and Audubon reviews list as a leading human-linked cause of bird mortality, braid through shrubs exactly where you'd send a fearful animal. Edges, pockets, pre-existing tunnels. Birds know this too and will roost deeper when scent lanes are active. You can read the traffic if you give yourself permission to look. Mud records the night as neatly as paper. Fresh snow tells the whole chapter in a single read. A pile of sunflower shells shifted from where you left it means someone tested it and moved on. A trail camera at knee height aimed across a path you already suspect can settle curiosity without guessing. If you don't own a camera, wet ground and dew will do. Walk slow circles with a small flashlight at ankle height and the edges light themselves. While the ground writes its story, the sky writes another. On clear, cool nights after a cold front, tens of thousands of small migrants move on stable air while you sleep. Smithsonian Migratory Bird Center projects and Cornell's Nocturnal Flight Call archives make this visible on maps, but you do not need a lab to experience it. Warblers toss quick sips that sound like pinpricks in glass. Swainsons and gray-cheeked thrushes drop seep soft as a drip from a pipette. White-throated sparrows pencil a thin peee. The best time is often 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., but calls can continue later, especially when winds are kind. Between 2 and 4 you can still catch them if you reduce your own noise. The 90-second test is embarrassingly simple. Pick a clear, calm night after a front passes. Turn off every exterior light and dim indoor lights facing glass. Step into the darkest part of your yard. Tip your face up, cup your ears. Stand still for a minute and a half. If you want proof on the record, open the voice memo app in your pocket and let it run. You may hear nothing the first night. The second night you will likely catch a single note so clean and thin it almost doesn't exist. Once you hear it, you will not unhear it again. The sky over your address is busy. Light reaches up into that traffic the way a hand reaches into water. Birds use stars and the moon as part of their orientation suite. And while science continues to refine the picture, most institutions that work in this space, Cornell, the American Bird Conservancy, urban collision groups, agree that unshielded lighting pulls migrants lower, confuses routes, and increases the chance that glass will be read as safe habitat. It also bends schedules on the ground. Streetlights can push a robin or a northern mockingbird to sing at midnight, defending a patch lit into false daylight or taking advantage of the quiet to practice phrases while no one interrupts. You can test this too. Drive 1 block toward your nearest sodium glow and listen at 12:30 a.m. The bright curb often has a singer where the dark curb does not. The solution at home is not grim. It is as practical as a switch in a shade. Use warm-tone bulbs. Shield fixtures downward. Put lights on motion so darkness is the default condition and brightness arrives only when a person does. It's not a moral statement. It's just good engineering for a yard that belongs to more lives than yours. Meanwhile, one of those lives is running a program so different it reads like fiction. Hummingbirds do not sleep through the night with the engine idling. They downshift the whole machine. In torpor, a ruby-throated hummingbird can drop its metabolic rate dramatically, body temperature falling to levels that would alarm you if you felt them in your own chest. To you, it will look like a tiny ornament at the same twig night after night, eyes closed, feathers pulled in so tight the bird looks like a bead of glass. Just before first light you might see a faint trembling, shivering muscles warming the engine enough to restart. Gardeners who keep nectar plants or a feeder can watch this every week of summer without realizing it's what they're seeing. If you are kind enough to leave a bare twig near the nectar corner and stand quietly 10 minutes before sunrise, you will meet one of the strangest and bravest equations in your yard. Group solutions matter too. Robins choose one hedge and pour into it like a soft rustle of coins. Blackbirds and starlings assemble in winter roosts that reduce heat loss through sheer head count. Chickadees sometimes sleep near one another deeper in cedar. Doves puff and align along trunks in a neat rhythm. Research on thermoregulation explains why these moves work. A huddled group creates a shared boundary layer of warm air and lowers individual costs, the way a circle of people around a candle can feel more heat than a single person holding it. You will see this with your eyes if you wait for 5 minutes at dusk where your yard meets the street. The mistake is to think this is random traffic. It's choreography. The same bodies use the same cover because it has proven itself enough times to be written into the map. Weather and moonlight redraw the rules every night. Wind pushes roosts to the lee side of structures and shrubs. Fog lowers migrants so your roofline might cut a highway you never otherwise notice. Heat shifts value from seed to water, and you will see the proof at dawn when your birdbath becomes the only crowded place on hot days. Post-front nights ring like crystal and carry more calls. You can read these changes by stepping outside for 30 seconds at first light and looking down. A frost circle beneath the base of a shrub. A little ring of flattened leaves. A sudden morning surge at the bath. You do not need charts to understand any of this. But if you like charts, Cornell's Migration Dashboard will make what you hear feel visible, and the Smithsonian summaries will give you words for the thin syllables your phone recorded when everyone else slept. All of this can feel beautiful and a little helpless at the same time. But the list of things you can do tonight is short, strong, and immediate. Turn exterior lights off by default and let a warm, shielded motion fixture solve real needs when you have them. Close blinds or curtains on big panes during migration so indoor lamps do not read as forest. Make the outside of your worst windows visible with a 2-inch by 2-inch pattern of dots or lines. A spacing promoted by the American Bird Conservancy and urban collision groups, because birds read the grid as barrier instead of sky. If you cannot install film today, a quick grid of tempera paint or even a bar of soap will work until you can. Place feeders either within 3 feet of glass, so launches and strikes are too slow to harm, or well beyond 30 feet where birds have space to maneuver. Keep cats indoors at night or give them a safe catio. It is better for them and better for whatever sleeps in your shrubs. Keep one dense evergreen or a native thicket untrimmed so there is honest roost cover in every month. Put out a shallow, shaded dish with a flat stone for footing and scrub it often in heat so relief never becomes risk. None of this is theory. You can watch the effects with your eyes. Feather smudges on glass go to 0 when the pane is marked. Midnight singing recedes when your curb no longer shines like a stage. Dawn activity grows steadier when water is ready and safe. If you want to turn curiosity into practice, run a quiet field log for 7 days. At dusk, stand for 3 minutes and note which shrub or vine birds pour into. Promise not to prune it hard until nesting is done. Around 2 or 3 in the morning on a clear night, step outside with the phone in your pocket, lights off, and record 1 minute of sky and 1 minute of edge. When you play it back, boost the volume and mark the time of any thin notes. At first light, sweep under your biggest pane for smudges and under your best roost shrub for droppings. Fix the pane that prints and honor the shrub that holds. If you have fresh snow, look for the fine stitch of a fox or the round badge of a raccoon's foot. If you have mud, see which corner writes the story most often and ask how to keep that corner wild enough for birds to trust it. You do not need to publish the log for it to change you. You only need to see the pattern twice to believe it. Here is what all of this turns you into, quietly and without certificate, a landmark. Not a zookeeper or a savior, just a predictable point on a living night map that birds and other small lives can count on. Groups at the University of Washington and the University of Exeter studying how urban birds respond to individual humans keep finding the same truth. Repeated, safe cues lower vigilance around you specifically. Your voice at dawn, the sound of your steps, the way your door shuts, the fact that your porch is dark by default and your pane is visible and your shrubs are dense and your bath is clean. The night learns you. And at daybreak, when the first chickadee threads a contact call through cedar, and a cardinal chips from the spruce, and a dove's wings whistle as it shifts, you get to hear not just the beginning of a day but the continuation of a map that includes you as a calm feature. So test this night. Wait for a clear hour after a front. Turn off every exterior light. Dim the rooms that face glass. Step into your darkest corner between 2 and 4. Lift your face, cup your ears, and stand still. If you hear nothing, try again tomorrow. If you hear one note, write the minute. If you hear a jay curse at 3 in the morning, know that an owl just wrote its name on your fence line. If you watch a hummingbird breathe itself back into the day from a twig you left bare, know that you got to witness a private courage most people never see. Then tell me in the comments the exact time and the single sound that found you. Tsip, seep midnight robin under a street lamp, jay scold at 3:07, and the one fix you will try this week. Whether it is a 2-inch dot grid on the worst pane, lights down on a timer, a feeder moved close or far, a cat in at night, or a kept wild thicket you will not tidy. I read every field note you send, and I have learned this from all of them. The smallest change one person makes on one yard becomes the quiet bridge 100 bright lives use to cross the dark and reach the morning.